Om Sam Saraswati Namaha Namaste. And tonight we're going to begin chapter 5. This is a very beautiful chapter as well. It's all about renunciation. And the clarity of pure devotion said, "Hey, doer of all, Krishna, you praise union through establishment in truth and renunciation, and again, union through action. Of the two, tell me which is definitely better." So is it better to be a karma yogi or a sannyasi? Sa means truth, and yas means to establish within. And sannyasi is one who has established truth within or who is established in truth. And here we're calling it who is established in truth and renunciation, because the two go together. The wisdom that we were talking about the last session, that is the wisdom of pure renunciation, of surrendering ourselves in perfect equilibrium. So which is better? Is it better to be surrendered in equilibrium in truth and in renunciation, and established in truth and renunciation? Or is it better to achieve union through action? Which of the two, tell me, which is definitely better? And the respected Supreme Divinity said, union through establishment in truth and renunciation, and union through action, karma yoga and sannyas, are both conducive to the highest good. But of the two, union through action is superior. O one of mighty arms, Arjuna, the one who maintains neither desires for nor desires against is free from conflict, and is known as someone who is eternally established in truth and renunciation. His happiness lies in freedom from bondage. Only those without understanding declare the path of the enumeration of principles to be different from the path of union, not the knowledgeable. So here is Sankhya philosophy, the path of the enumeration through the principles. Sankhya and yoga, the path of union through any means. Meditation, wisdom, and action with devotion. Firmly established in either path, one attains to the fruit of both. No matter which path you take, you're going to achieve the fruition, the perfection of both. So if you think that you're going to take the path of Sankhya and discriminate, this is for my transient body, and this is for my eternal soul. That path of discrimination, that intelligence, that intellectual path of using your vivek, discrimination, in order to discern which is for the transient and which is for the eternal. Or if you think you're going to unite in yoga through meditation, wisdom, devotion, and action, if you choose either path, any of them, you attain to the fruit of both of them. They're not separate. That position, or realization, attained by the practitioners of the enumeration of principles, is also reached by the practitioners of the path of union. So the same realization, if you use discrimination or if you use yoga, you come to the same realization. I am one with the universe. one with God. Swaha. Who sees that the path of the enumeration of principles and the path of union are one and the same, he truly sees, he really understands. So here we are trying to divide up these yogas, and we say this is Dhyan yoga, this is Gyan yoga, this is Karma yoga. He's a bhakta. He's using discrimination. He's discerning what is for the transitory and which is for the eternal. These are merely divisions or distinctions so that we can intellectually understand what is our path. How are we integrating all the appendages of spirituality into one continuous, holistic spiritual life? Just so we can understand it, we divide it up and describe it in different terms and look at it from this side and that side. But who understands that there is only one path and that they are one and the same, he truly sees, he truly understands. O one of mighty arms, Arjuna, establishment in truth and renunciation is impossible to attain without union. How can you be a sannyasi if you don't practice yoga? How can you be a yogi if you don't study Sankhya and discriminate which is transient and which is eternal? Impossible. There's only one path to God, and that's called holistic spirituality. United in union, a wise man reaches supreme divinity in a short time. That means there's only one union when you unite. When there's only one, then all of these distinctions dissipate. They're no longer needed. They're no longer necessary. There's union, united in union, you come to supreme divinity. United in union with a purified soul, master of his soul, he has controlled his senses. Recognizing his soul as the soul of all existence, even performing action, he remains unattached. Now, once we recognize our soul as the soul of all existence, so long as anyone in existence thinks that they are bound, then I'm bound. I'm obligated to act until I am liberated. And I am not liberated separately from all of existence. I am liberated, united with all existence. It's very similar to the concept of the Bodhisattva in Buddhist philosophy, where, and this is from where it is derived, it is the origin of the Bodhisattva concept. Because how can we be liberated apart from creation when we are united in union with all of creation? If I am everywhere and my soul is the soul of all, if anyone thinks that they are bound, I am bound. And I'm obligated to do some action to free myself so I can achieve that highest realization. Recognizing his soul as the soul of all existence, even performing action, he remains unattached. Well, just because that individual phenomena or that individual being feels themselves to be bound doesn't mean that I have to feel myself to be bound. I'm obligated to act, but I'm not bound by those actions because it's free from selfish desire. It's selfish desire with a capital S. It's the big self. I have the desire for the liberation of the big self. Paramatma. The man of union who knows the principles thinks, I am doing nothing, or I am not the doer. Even while seeing, hearing, moving, touching, smelling, eating, drinking, moving, sleeping, breathing, speaking, attending the calls of nature, grasping, opening and closing the eyes, he contemplates that the senses are moving among the objects of sense. This is the transient world. The senses are perceiving transient phenomena. Rase, rupe, chikandicha, sabde, sparshe, yogini. They are perceiving the objects of perception. These are transient. At one moment it's a beautiful sight, and the next moment it's not so beautiful. They change. But knowing he who is free, the wearer of the body, who is free from all changes, who is always the same. You were there when you were a little girl, you were there when you were a young lady, as you approach middle age you're still there, and there's a pretty good probability that you're going to remain. Only the body changed. The wearer of the body did not change. And now we have the discrimination. The body is changing. I am perceiving through the changes. I am watching the changes. But the watcher, the witness, didn't change. The witness is true. Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. The witness is true because she doesn't change. And the world of phenomena is untrue because it's constantly changing. He who performs all actions as an offering to Supreme Divinity, renouncing all attachment, remains free from sin as water does not remain upon the lotus leaf. Put a few drops of water on a lotus leaf and you will see they will immediately fall off. Water doesn't stick to the lotus leaf. And in the same way, who performs all actions as an offering to God, renouncing all attachment, all sin, all confusion just falls off. Men of union, renouncing all attachment, perform all action with a pure soul. Only body, mind, intellect, and the organs of knowledge and action work. Free from the feeling of mind. Renouncing the fruits of action, the man of union attains peace. Not the man of desires. The man of desires is always thinking, how can I fulfill my desire? But the man who attains union, he attains peace. He who is not in union, motivated by selfish desires, becomes bound by attachment to results. He who is self-controlled rests in comfort. Look at his asana. He just sits in comfort, at ease. He's just at poise and balance and at ease. He's comfortable. Renouncing the contemplations of all actions. He doesn't need to think about all actions. He's thinking about being in the presence of God. The wearer of the body who dwells in the city of the 9 gates neither acts nor causes others to act. Here are the 9 gates to the city of God. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. And this is the city of God. The wearer of the body dwells in the city of the 9 gates. And he doesn't act, and he doesn't cause anybody else to act. He is merely the witness of all action. So he's renounced all the desires. The Lord creates neither the actors nor the actions, nor even union with the fruits of the action. Rather, the essential nature, the intrinsic nature of individual beings evolves according to its nature. But nature is acting according to her nature because that's her nature. Neither am I, nor the Lord, nor the wearer of the body, the actor, nor are we acted upon. But nature performs the action because of her nature. The omnipresent Lord does not accept the sins of anyone, nor their acts of excellence. Wisdom and ignorance continually revolve around each other, and therefore living beings become foolish. So then, God is not giving sin, and God is not giving merit. Neither punya nor papa. God is giving life. And we are perceiving this is good and this is bad. And these are just states of mind. If we have an ideal of perfection and we stick to our sankalpa, we no longer revolve around the wisdom and ignorance, pleasure and pain, sukh and dukh. And therefore all living beings become foolish because they are revolving around. And every now and then the cloud comes up and obscures the sun of wisdom. And then we pray to Indra to smoke the cloud. He breaks the cloud, it rains down, the cloud dissipates, the rain nourishes the earth, and the sun comes out, and we have wisdom again. Continuing with the regularity of a water wheel. And therefore living beings become foolish. But for those souls whose ignorance has been destroyed by wisdom, their wisdom illuminates the supreme like the radiance of the light of the sun. If you have wisdom and you can share wisdom, then there's an illumination that's as bright as the radiance of the sun. And in chapter 11, we're going to see it's like the radiance of 1,000 suns. In fact, Arjuna can't even begin to describe it. Those for whom the intellect contemplates only that, as in tat tvamasi, that with a capital T. The soul is absorbed in that, tat tvamasi. Bear loyalty only to that. Have that as their ultimate goal. They go and again do not return. Just keep going. Keep going towards that. Wisdom has made them void of defects. And that's our objective. That's our goal. That's our modus operandi. That's how we perform. That's just what we're doing. We're striving to illuminate sufficient wisdom so that that is the focus of our lives. That is the goal of our lives. That is the value system of our lives. And we only bear loyalty to that, and we contemplate only that, and we go to that. Tat tvamasi. Knowledge endows one with humility. The learned perceive with equanimity one who knows wisdom, a cow, an elephant, a dog, or a man of low status. There's no distinction between caste, gender, and I like it, I don't like it. Everything is perceived with equanimity, and we are the witness. Knowledge endows one with humility. It was a famous statement, a proclamation, an aphorism of Vidyasagar, Satya Vidya Binoy Pradhayate. True knowledge confers humility. Even here, creation is conquered by them whose minds are established in equanimity. For Supreme Divinity allows no faults and is always the same. And therefore, they are established in Supreme Divinity because they're in equanimity. For there's no fault, there's no dosh when you're established in Supreme Divinity. It's always the same. You have the same body, the same feeling, the same attitude, the same joy, the same bliss, the same peace. Neither will he rejoice upon obtaining that which is desirable, nor will he be perturbed upon obtaining the undesirable. Apavitra pavitra va, sarva vastangato va. Yahasmare pundarikaksham sabhyabhyantarastriti. The pure and the impure reside in all. Who remembers the lotus-eyed consciousness is conveyed to radiant purity. Always beyond the pure and the impure. Fixed in intelligence, unencumbered by foolishness, one who knows Supreme Divinity is established in Supreme Divinity. Brahma eva Brahma bhavanti. Who knows Brahma becomes Brahma. With his soul unattached to the contacts with the external, happiness is found in the soul itself. He has united his soul in the union with Supreme Divinity and enjoys infinite happiness. Param Shuk. For those pleasures born from external contacts are certainly the womb of sorrows. Every time we get a stimulation that makes us happy, we long to repeat the experience. Why don't you just enjoy it once and savor it and say, that was fun, I'm going on? We don't. Every time we find something that turns us on, we want to get turned on again and again and again until it becomes a habit. Or it turns us off. And it doesn't bring us the delight that it brought us initially. We use it until we abuse it. And then we cast it away. And our desire changes. For those pleasures born from external contacts are certainly the womb of sorrows. O son who takes away the deficiency of others, Arjuna, the intelligent will not rejoice in that which has a beginning and an end. If you can point to the origin and you can point to the terminus, forget about it. It's not what we need. It's not the object of our search. It's transitory. We're looking for the permanent, the eternal, the infinite beyond conception. That man who is able to bear patiently the agitation born of desire and anger, even here, before being liberated from the body, he is in union. He is happy. So if we can bear the agitation that's born of desire, and the anger which comes from unfulfilled desire, we just bear it. Just as all the rivers flow into the sea, and the sea never overflows, all the thoughts flow through the mind of a Muni, but the Muni never reacts. If we can bear patiently the agitation, it ceases to agitate us. We become the witness. Oh, those rivers are flowing into the sea. And he is happy. He is in union. Who has happiness within? Who has tranquility within? Who is in union with the light within? He alone is a man in union with the infinite supreme bliss and attains to oneness with the Supreme Divinity. Bhakti Sabhava. The rest is all conversation. It's beautiful philosophy and theories. But if you don't have happiness within, if you don't have tranquility within, if you don't remain in union with the light within, you can't have that infinite supreme bliss. The rest is conversation. Having attained to oneness with the Supreme Divinity, the seers of divinity have destroyed their defects. Controlling their own selves, they cut through duality. They delight in the welfare of all beings because they exist in all beings. Those self-controlled beings who have controlled their consciousness are free from anger and desire. The soul, established in wisdom on all sides in every way, exists in oneness with the Supreme Divinity. Withdrawing contacts from all externals and fixing the gaze within between the two eyebrows, making the incoming breath equal to the outflowing breath, moving through the nostrils. Controlling the senses, the mind and intellect, the goal of the wise is liberation. Without desire, fear, or anger, he alone is certainly free. Who wishes to practice meditation, who controls his perception within, who is looking inside in the third eye, in the gaze between the two eyebrows, his pranayama, his inflowing breath is equal to the outflowing breath. And he has controlled the senses, the mind, the intellect. The goal of the wise is liberation and moksha. That's freedom. By knowing me as the enjoyer of sacrifices and purifying austerities, and as the great Supreme Lord of all the worlds, as the friend of all existence, he attains peace. Iti Panchamo Adhyaya. Do we have any questions?
Swamiji?
Please.
This is on verse 23.
Yes.
It speaks about the man who is able to bear patiently the agitation born of desire and anger, even here, and
yes.
so on. So, what is the prescription here for a seeker when they face a desire? As a desire arises in the mind, how should a seeker respond in light of this verse?
Well, I would go back to the Chandi, because the Chandi has a prescription for the method, and the Gita has a beautiful statement of the objective. And remember in chapter 8 when the seed of desire came, and the seed of desire had won a boon that whenever a drop of blood touched the ground, a new desire with the same strength and character and capacity to captivate the mind would be born immediately in that same spot. So the seed of desire marched out into the battlefield. He was struck by a weapon of Indrani, who hit him with a thunderbolt, and all the other goddesses beat him with their weapons, and blood started to pour profusely. So that every drop of blood that touched the ground created a new desire, and those desires began to fight with the goddesses, and they were wounded. And then their blood fell, and pretty soon the entire earth was covered with desire. Everywhere we looked, there was a seed of desire. Now, seeing this, the gods experienced extreme dejection. And then they called upon Kali. They said, Kali, expand your mouth. Only your mouth is large enough has sufficient capacity to contain the desires of humanity. Please stick out your tongue and let she who is beyond time, she who takes away the darkness, she who grants illumination, let her drink all the seeds of desire with her tongue. And this is the method. Because see what happens. Choose a desire. Give me a desire.
Some food.
You want some food. In order to get some food, you probably need to go to the market. And in order to go to the market, you probably need a car. In order to drive the car, you need some gasoline. In order to get the gasoline, you need some money. In order to get the money, you need a job. In order to get the job, you need an education. In order to get the education, you need a book. In order to get the book, you need some money. And see, you took one desire, and suddenly the seed of desire fell and gave birth to a new desire. And pretty soon the whole world was filled with seeds of desire. So now, that man who is able to bear patiently the agitation born of desire, he is in union. He is happy. He is fulfilled. We call upon Kali, we call upon Divine Mother, please, you take away all the desires. They're too strong for me. I can't fight with them. I can't defeat them. I can't possibly fulfill them all. Now, Chandi has a method for the fulfillment of the theory of Gita. My prayer becomes more strong, more intense, more focused. That you have to help in this matter. These desires have won the boon that they're stronger than me, little old me. And only you, with your infinite compassion, can open your mouth and consume all of my desires, so that all I desire is you. If you take away my darkness, you illuminate my light, you cut down my impurity, you take away my negativities, I can perceive you as consuming all of my desires. And that's why at the end in verse 29 he says, by knowing me as the enjoyer of sacrifices and purifying austerities, and as the great supreme Lord of all the worlds, as the friend of all existence, he attains peace. And that's the method. Are there other questions?
Yes, Swamiji, question from Nirmalananda from North Carolina.
Namaste, Nirmalananda.
Namaste, Swamiji. Can you please translate that Tvamasi?
Traditionally, it's been said as that, tat, Tvam, thou, asi, art. That thou art. That is what you are. That is the true you. That. Meaning all of it. Supreme Divinity. That's the literal meaning. That, as in the Supreme, is what you are. Your true nature, your true essence, your true being is that. Tat. God is you. Are there other questions?
A question from Morning Song from Santa Rosa.
Namaste, Morning Sun.
Swamiji, can you please explain what is meant in verse 13 by the city of 9 gates?
Yes, this body has 9 doors. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those are the avenues of ingress and egress through which we communicate with the outside world. And sitting in this city is the wearer of the body. And the wearer of the body is the Supreme Lord, Mayor of the city of nine gates. So that's the city of 9 gates, this body.
Swamiji, here's a question from Evelina visiting from Bulgaria.
Namaste, Evelina.
Evelina asks about verse 22.
Yes.
Which says, for those pleasures born from external contacts are certainly the womb of sorrows.
Yes.
And she asks, regarding pleasures born of external contacts, what about pleasures that come from nature, music, etc.?
Are they stimulated by the outside? Then they will be a transient pleasure. Whereas the wise take delight in communion with the soul. So what happens when the music is over? Or when your adventure to the beautiful natural scene is complete? Certainly, there's a beginning and an end. But now, what we're saying in this verse 22 and 23 is that let us be free from those desires and free from those perceptions and take delight in the soul. That's not to say don't go see nature. And it doesn't say don't listen to good music. But know that anything that has a beginning has an end. And when it ends, we feel sorrow. And then we try to repeat the experience again. So the spiritual knowledge is metaphysical. It doesn't have a beginning, and it doesn't have an end. It is all the time, anytime we tune into it. And that's the knowledge that we're seeking through meditation.
Question from Kumari Vallejo.
Namaste, Kumari Mom.
On verse 8. Kumari is asking, if I'm not acting, who is acting?
Brahma. Brahmarpanam, Brahmahabir, Brahma Brahmanakutam. The Supreme Divinity is the actor. And I am merely the witness. Nature is acting according to her nature because that's her nature. The Divine Mother is acting. And this is the tool through which she performs that action. I get to watch. And you know what? Every time I try to act, I get in the way and I mess it up. The only time that I ever do anything efficiently is when I'm not there. When I step aside and let her act, it's effortless. And so that's our objective. So I am not the doer. I am not doing anything. Even while the body is acting, I am free from activity. I am merely the witness of the actions of nature.
A question from Eknath from Florida.
Namaste, Eknath.
Eknath asks, having no desire is the answer to having desires.
Well, there's a big jump from having desires to having no desires.
How do we reach that in this word?
Again, I move towards the Chandi. as an answer for the questions of sadhana, of how. And the Chandi will tell us that there's a specific sadhana that we do through prayer, through activity, through yoga, through practice. There are certain practices that we cultivate so that we move beyond practices and we give up the spiritual practices into leading a spiritual life. We do spiritual practices again and again and again until they become second nature to us. They become the habit of our life. They cease to be an externally imposed discipline that we are performing because my guru told me to. And it's written in the scripture. And pretty soon it becomes the natural way of life. It's just as natural as brushing your teeth in the morning, as taking a bath. Then you sit down in an asana and focus in the third eye, in meditation. And then you come to the sacred fire and recite the chant. Just as natural. You perform the pujas, you perform the pat, you perform the yoga exercises. The spiritual discipline yields into a spiritual life. We forget that it's an externally imposed discipline. It's me. And this scripture that I'm studying is no longer the study of somebody that did these disciplines and did these practices in ancient history. It's something that I'm doing right now. It's the story of me. This is my scripture. It's my story, and it's the description of how I became who I became. That's the method.
Question from Usha from Canada.
Namaste, Usha.
The mechanics of desire and renunciation are very complex in us. Would one avoid being exposed to certain things until one is strong enough to withstand? What is the balance of experience versus avoiding experience? Her question, and she says, rather, how do we balance?
First, Usha, let me suggest to you that when we plant a new sapling, a new tree, we put a little barricade around it, a little fence, so that the goats won't eat it or the cows won't step on it. But when the tree sinks its root and grows you into a strong trunk, you can tie an elephant to it and never have a second thought. Now we are little saplings. So now we want to nurture our little saplings with the type of influences that will be most positive in our lives. And that means satsang. We want to be as close to the guru, as close to the knowledge, as close to the example, as much as we can come closer, so that it becomes a greater influence in our lives, rather than all the other influences that are saying, look at me! And they are. Every time we go outside, every influence comes up to us and says, don't I have the greatest? And the answer is discrimination. Which will I like to become like? I will become like the people I associate with. I will take on the values, the attitudes, the language, the dress, the comportment of those with whom I associate. It behooves me to choose the wisest and the best. That would be the most fun. Now, all these influences are out there saying you could be like this, you could be like this, follow this example, follow that example. Your challenge, and all of our challenges, is to choose the best example and become like that, associate with that example, and assume the values of that example, and assume the comportment, the language, the diction, the attitudes of that example. And that's called Guru. The example that you choose to follow in your lives.
And a question from Rook from Fairfield.
Namaste, Rook.
Why is clarity of pure devotion a worthy recipient of Lord Krishna's wisdom versus Yudhishthira, who is committed to dharma, the ideal of perfection?
Yudhishthira is already committed. He is still in the youth. The clarity of pure devotion says, to kasmi devaya habisha vidvaha. To which deity, to which divinity, to which form of divinity should I offer my oblation, my obeisance? The clarity of pure devotion says, hey, I can become devoted to the world, I can become devoted to my family, I could be devoted to dharma. Which should I choose? So Arjuna has said, I don't want to destroy my family in order to enjoy the spoils of war. And that was his dilemma from chapter 1. So that's why it's Arjuna who is in confusion now. He has this conundrum of, to whom shall I offer my devotion? Shall I offer it to the world, or shall I offer it to dharma? Shall I save my family, or shall I stand for truth? That was his dilemma. Yudhishthira is still. He has no such dilemma. I'm sorry, our time is up. We're going to have to excuse ourselves tonight. Om Sam Saraswati Namaha. Namaste. Sure you can. Let me turn that off because otherwise we'll have problems. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry.
We can do that for you with the Swami.
Oh, you know what? I tried to have somebody else do it, and it just didn't work. So.
Okay.
I just want a clarification here. The tool in the hands of God and the servant of circumstance, and then the defining one's goals, so that one is taking responsibility for oneself rather than having other people tell one what to do in the sense of...
Right, there seems to be a reconciliation that needs to be done there. Yeah. And it's true, there is a reconciliation. To become an efficient tool in the hands of God, I have to cultivate some skills. Yeah. I have to sharpen the tool. I don't want to give God a dull tool and say, okay, this tool's all rusted and broken and dull and blunted, so now you can use it. I want to sharpen that tool in a certain way according to my personal inclination. Whether it be as a craftsman, whether it be as a computer expert, whether it be as an expert in finance, whether it be as the perfect servant, I want to sharpen the tool and cultivate the skills so that God can use it. Both are true. My mother is a goddess of predetermination. The law of karma is effective. My father is the God of free will. You will get the fruits of your karma, and you have a free will to change them, to sow new seeds so you get different fruits. Om Sam Saraswati Namaha. Namaste. Sorry everybody, we ran out of time tonight. But we can continue with questions because this is a loaded chapter. And if anybody wants to get loaded with me tomorrow night, same time, same station, namaste.
Duties?
Absolutely. Mea culpa. Mea culpa. Mea maximal culpa. Yes, Moni, I'm sorry, even though there are two types of people who climb the mountain, no one gets to stay on top. Either you find what you're looking for and have to come down to share it, or you don't find what you're looking for and you have to come down because you got hungry. But nobody gets to stay on top. We are enjoined to act. We are required, it's incumbent upon us. And we act in various ways according to the circumstances that prevail. How can we be most effective as a tool in the hands of God? Circumstances themselves will dictate that to us. We'll understand. We will understand immediately when the circumstances confront us. We will understand what is our highest and best use in the hand of God.
Question from Wendy from New Jersey.
Namaste, Wendy.
When we have desires to do something that appears to be good, as in helping others, how can we distinguish if it is selfish just to feel good about ourselves or pure?
Well, there are two parts of the equation. The first is seeking to put others in a greater state of harmony in accordance with their desire to move into that state of harmony, so that we're doing a good without imposing upon them our view, without imposing our view upon them. And the second is, what is the remuneration or the recompense or the reward that we're seeking from performing this action? If performing the action fills us with so much love and so much joy that whether any fruit is derived in the future or not is inconsequential, then we are free from attachment and free from selfishness. When we perform the action, if we are not struggling to impose our personal view on another, then we are free from attachment. If we seek to act for the betterment of others, for the upliftment of others, and just only want to place them in a better place, then we're free from attachment. I think these could be some of the criteria by which we discriminate what puts us in